All this melanin on the screen.
You got the fresh braids.
Right?
Okay.
Okay.
only a couple of hours old, you know.
So the
Straight off the African shop.
Because I could see it almost looks like you got the Vaseline right here on the edges.
It's a lot of oils and things going on up there.
Juices and berries.
So, exactly.
Those days. Ooh, I'm tender-headed. So.
Hey, aunties, it's Damon.
It's Tony.
And this is Jordan from Surface Level Podcast.
What's brewing today?
Introducing Aunties from Surface Level Podcast.
Ask your aunties, Lion Dick.
And supporting the Asian community. So get your cups ready for Minoritea Report.
Hello. Right, come on, Unison. Welcome to Minoritea Report. And community, we're just going to get right in it from the jump because it's going to be a jam-packed episode. So we have not one, not two, like Aunts, Tice, Fetons, and Matey. We got 3 guests today. And they are from Aunts,
Tice.
Fetons, and Matey. You know what it is.
Yes.
But they are from Surface Level Podcast. And we're going to let's start with Damon. What is your auntie name?
I'm Auntie Paloma.
Ooh, Paloma. Okay.
Yeah, she's fun for the summer.
Jordan, what's yours?
I'm Auntie Mary.
Mary.
And
Tony, what is your auntie name?
I'm Auntie Clico.
The clear who?
Oh.
As in Booth.
Look, Tony, I knew what you said. I knew
As in champagne, darling.
Champagne. That's why I sit with the vodka.
Champagne for everyone.
I heard there would be champagne.
You know, it can't go wrong with champagne, though. You know.
Well, since we all drinking, cheers to everyone.
Cheers.
We're glad to have you.
This is
all
one
the
of like 3 tonight.
Community, this might be an episode you definitely need to watch on YouTube, by the way, because this
don't drive and listen to this. Don't drive and listen to this. It's gonna be distracting. And if you're driving, where you going? Because we're in a pandemic, so I don't know.
Well, you know Atlanta's been wide ass open, so we don't know no better down here.
That's it.
I mean,
wide ass open. We've been driving since we maybe had 2 weeks. They said, bitch, I'm back on this road. But okay, Surface Level Podcast. How did it start? Who started it? Who was like, you know what? I'm gonna get my best Judy's and start this podcast.
Oh my goodness. Who wants to take that?
Well, you talking, girl, so go ahead.
Okay, well, so Surface Level sort of started as an idea with all 3 of us. So we really like to hang out. We've been friends for a very long time, about 10 years. And we enjoy hanging out just like in our apartments, you know, having some wine, listening to music and talking about things. And we just kind of kept on having this idea that we should record these conversations and have a podcast. And it was just sort of like an idea for a couple of months until one of our friends that we went to school with, she called Damon and we put her on speakerphone and she said the same thing that we were all thinking, like, you guys should come out with a podcast. And then I think we just started planning it.
Yeah.
And then we developed it over the course of 10 months and then we launched our first season last year. So it was kind of like, it happened kind of organically.
Yeah.
Love it. What, this is a question that Dawon, I'm still Dawon, your question that you always ask. What has been the most surprising thing about doing a podcast?
I mean, there's been a lot of surprises. Well, first of all, to continue off of what Jordan was saying is that I'm sure you guys can agree that when it comes to representation of Black gay men in media, you know, we only see a certain type of character portrayed. And so for us, we were like, we don't see our brand of gay. Like, where is our brand of gay guys? You know, the ones that are working in corporate and, you know, just having real conversations. We like to, you know, party, but we also have other endeavors going on. There's another
like
side
that
we
right. Hey.
Okay, now don't get that song stuck in my head.
We love a Beyonce song.
Yeah.
But I think that also we've all been working in our prospective fields for the last decade. So we're like, this is the opportunity to work as friends, put what we've been doing for these other companies to use for ourselves and pour into ourselves, and try and get through a project without killing each other. And
right.
you know, it's been that has actually been surprising that we're going into season 3 and we haven't killed each other. Almost.
Very close.
Still, you know, but I think for me personally, and I'll let Damon and Jordan give their answers, but for me, it's been, I got closer to this so-called community. You know, when people talk about the LGBTQ community, I just always thought of it as a thing, not necessarily that I exist in an actual community. And after the podcast, the outpouring of love we received from people saying that what we're doing is great. You know, you guys got to keep doing this. You're having conversations that we all want to hear about and that should be being had on this level, just like openly and candidly. And I think now, after 2 seasons of doing this, I feel like more a part of an actual community where we've sort of like got some people that I feel like, you know, I could reach out and touch someone's hand.
Reach out and touch.
Yes.
And
somebody's
but
hand.
you know the gay community is like everyone is kind of like staring and looking and doesn't want to speak, and you go to brunch and you see people all the time. But now I just kind of feel like I feel a little bit more like I am a part of something that in a more real way. So Damon, Jordan, what do you guys think? What's been more surprising to you guys?
It's funny because it's a similar thing, but a different experience for me. Like, yes, people love to talk and love to reach out to us and love to engage us. I'm very private. Like, we always say Tony's like the social share. So like whenever we go places, like she's the one that like knows everybody in the room. I'm the one that can stand in the corner and have a cocktail and then go back home and not speak to anybody there and be fine. But now I'm doing but now we're doing a thing that part of the thing is to spark conversation, and said conversation has been sparked with us. So there's just been a lot of engagement. I think for me, there are times where I'm like, wow, this is kind of uncomfortable because I'm not used to talking to strangers. But I mean, I think that's a good thing in a way too, because it's pushing me outside of a comfort zone, outside of a shell, outside of the fortress I kind of build around myself and the things that I personally like. So that's been the surprise, how many people like actually want to talk. Like, you start a thing, you're like, oh, we kind of have these conversations with just the 3 of us, and you think that I don't know what everybody else is talking about or what they're doing, and then there are so many people that want to be a part of the thing and the journey with you, and that's been really surprising and strange at times for me.
So like you said, like it pushes you out of your comfort zone. Has there been like a time where you're like, damn, why did I share that? Or are you glad that you end up sharing what you shared?
Oh, I think I have rarely felt, damn, I'm upset that I shared something. One, because I also think like we have a fairly general rule that like if there's a topic that like we really don't want to touch, like we won't do an episode about it. So like our podcast format is really episodes that like topic specific, like we're covering a thing. We want to do an episode about HIV. We want to do an episode about dating and Grindr apps and so on. So like, I think that if there are certain things in our lives that we truly can't speak about honestly, our general rules that we don't go there. Now, are there certain things where like hindsight being 2020, you look back and say like, that's not how I meant for that to come out. And then like people are asking you questions and follow-ups, and then you're doing like a whole campaign to explain what you meant. But I mean, it's his life. You're not gonna get it right all the time. I don't care.
Yeah, I feel like Damon is definitely the one that's like that'll keep us honest. And if we're doing a topic and we know each other so well, and we kind of say like, how would you answer this without giving full details of how you would actually answer it on the podcast? He'll be like, then why are we talking about this? Because that's not the Jordan or the Tony that I know.
Yeah.
So why like, should we just not do this episode?
Yeah.
And those are the real conversations and kind of the accountability that we keep, so we can keep some level of integrity while doing this. But no, I think that I don't think I've said anything that I haven't been too proud of, but that doesn't mean my date could be coming.
I mean, I typically overthink everything. So I'm the person that's, before we go into the episode, I'm just like, am I really about to talk about this? And I'm like nervous the whole time, and then I say it, and then I actually feel okay afterwards. Surprisingly, a lot of people reach out with their own experiences, which I wasn't expecting. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like one episode I said that I wouldn't mind being choked during sex, and I was just like,
just a little bit, just a little pressure,
just a little bit. And I could not believe, like, even up to that recording session, I was just like, am I really about to say this? And then like I said it, and it was like no one cared. So it was actually like, this podcast is helping me like not think. I mean,
me too.
I don't know.
I'm sure you got them. They slid in a couple times.
Exactly.
But it's easier now to, like, be a little bit more open.
I do feel like the getting behind the microphone in some way, shape, or form is a little bit like the truth serum, no matter what you're talking about, because just to your point, Jordan, there are moments where like you can see the conversation going down a certain path a mile away. And in the podcasting head of yours, you're like, are we really about to go there? And then there's this like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just let it all hang out. But I think it's really those moments where you're having real, raw, honest conversation where you're just bringing your full truth to whatever it is. It doesn't have to be sexual, it doesn't have to be political, it can be whatever. But I do feel like, our listeners tune in to podcasts for that jolt of real talk, like that. Like, let's just keep it real. They can get TV and fakery and foolishness elsewhere, but I think people tune into the podcast because they want the authenticity. They want to feel like they're part of, even though they're not in the conversation. I don't know about you all, but we get people saying all the time, like, I feel like I'm having that conversation with y'all, and I be talking, and y'all can't hear me.
Right. Dawon, I think that's what people get addicted to, is like just the real raw moments and being authentic, and you find that that's what people come back for. And I think that's what we found along the way is that's what people enjoy, and people can sniff it out when you're not being who you are. Like, people are like, that shit is fake. Like,
and they'll tell you too. That's the crazy thing. It's like, damn, you bold as hell. You don't know me like that.
But I mean, I'm a fan of y'all, like, for real. Like, I'm not a big podcast person. Like, and honestly, I forget that we have a podcast. And so some people will message me and they'd be like, oh, I really like what you said on that last episode. I'm like, huh? I'm gonna need a timestamp. I'm gonna need a timestamp because like this is like therapy to me. So this, like, I come and I check in and I give my all and I leave it at the door. I'll come back next week, you know. But like, real talk though, listening to y'all podcast, it was the first time in any podcast that I've listened to that I felt like, damn, why don't I live closer to them? Like, real, like all day today, I was like, and now real, I was like, I'm glad we're doing this on a Friday, because I was like, you know what, this is gonna be great. Like, I've been looking forward to this all week, like listening to y'all podcast. Real talk. Like, I'm a fan.
That means Dawon has to have a rooftop moment this summer, and you guys gotta come. Like,
absolutely.
So we are remodeling our rooftop right now. It's going to be the spot. It's I can't wait. I can't wait.
Like the whole building's remodeling, or just you?
Well, I mean, there's 3 units,
right?
And we're all chipping in to bust it out. Okay. Like it's gonna be a whole vibe up there. We've got like like a whole lounge thing. We've got like, you know, like app controlled lights, whole like lounge situation, you know, a canopy, like
is there a runway? I want a runway.
Actually, there is a little bit of a runway. There was a little bit of a runway moment, I will have to say, from one part.
After all them stairs, yeah, there is. Look.
That part.
No, I mean on the rooftop, there is like there is a stretch. There was a good like I want to say about 20 to 30 feet of a stretch. So there's a runway. Okay. Yes. But it's about to be a vibe. So they're starting construction this weekend. So
love it. And community, if you didn't catch that, they all live in New York. So Jerrell and I are a little jealous.
We live in
Harlem, baby. Harlem, baby.
I think the furthest person away, I don't know who it is, but one of you are like on like 137th or something like that. And that's the furthest person away from me because I'm on 142nd.
So yeah. Damon.
No, I'm getting because they be on UPS like blue. You know, be careful.
I don't know her.
Them streets go a long way. Right. You got to know the cross streets. And even in New York, you could be on the same block and never see the same person. So
I was like, he lives at 245, zip code 3,
apartment 23B.
How did you guys become friends? Like you say, you've been friends for a decade. Where did that stem from? Ooh, that sounds like a story.
That's interesting. I don't know. So Damon and Jordan they've always been friends. They were friends at Howard. Like, we all went to Howard University. Same year we graduated together. And we all knew who each other was. Damon and Jordan were friends from like freshman year. I knew who Damon was. I knew who Jordan was. But I didn't actually become friends with Jordan or Damon until after we got to New York and after graduating from Howard. And I ran into Jordan at a gay club on a Wednesday night. Yes. It was called Splash, for anyone listening that remembers.
Yes.
Splash Wednesday.
Splash Wednesdays. Yes. It really was.
Upstairs, downstairs. Come on now.
So I ran into Jordan at this gay club one night, and he had the nerve to ask me. He was like, I think I know you. Did you go to Howard? And I was like, I literally said this to him in the club. I was like, you know exactly who I am.
I did. I was there by myself. I was just like, let me just tread lightly. Maybe you don't. We'll see. It's not about getting rejected by yourself.
Right. So from that point on, me and Jordan had started to hang out, and he was hanging out with Damon. Damon lived in Boston at the time. He was working in Boston. And Jordan wanted to bring Damon around, and I was like, if you bring Damon around,
Tony was a hater.
I said, leave me out of it. Leave me out of it.
Yeah.
What? It was a hard transition. Jordan, in his sneaky ways, he brought Damon around, and we ended up like hitting it off like right away. And the rest is history. Like we've been thick as thieves ever since. And so the last decade has been really special for the three of us. But if you got Damon and Jordan, if you want to add to that in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Damon, I want to hear Damon's side of it.
Right. Like her.
Because Tony's a hater. I have no idea why she disliked me. I thought we were cool. If you asked me, I'd be like, oh, I knew Tony since freshman year. Apparently
not.
She just knew of me. And she said, don't put me around.
You were frenemies.
Literally, I have pictures of you from freshman week. And I never knew that we were beefing, but it'd be like that.
Well, it happens, you know.
You weren't beefing. Damon just had a stink demeanor.
So wait a minute.
I did not.
Who is the J-Lo? Who is the J-Lo and who is the Mariah Carey of this group? Because that's what
I think. Well, what does that mean? I think for Damon and I, we're both Mariah Carey.
I mean, because somebody said I don't know her.
I mean, in this case, I would be the Mariah.
Tony, but she knows no one, but everybody knows her.
Ooh.
She said, "Do you see this fireplace?"
Right.
Darling, the champagne, it just goes together.
Right. It's like too funny. Howard, who was I just? Oh, I was talking to in the DMs, like with a community member, and we were talking about HBCUs, and I was like, God, my whole freaking family went to HBCUs, and I didn't go to one. I wish I went to one. Like,
damn,
you know,
poor decision making.
It very much so. Very much so.
I went where the money was. I got
that part.
I got the scholarship.
Same here.
I don't gotta pay nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like my sister went to Tuskegee University, and every time I'd go down there, like homecoming and shit, like it's just it just hits different. Like it's a different energy, a different vibe. Like you don't have to explain nothing. If you want to be extra, you could be extra with everybody, and you don't have to explain that energy at all, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, damn, I did kind of miss out.
I ain't gonna front. I do
wonder
FOMO, though. I get that FOMO when I be seeing like, you know, homecoming come around. I'm like,
yeah. I have like a weird family. So I have 5 siblings, and 4 of us have gone to school. One's in the Navy, but like I went to Howard. My sister's at Howard now. One of my brothers went to Alabama A&M. And then our youngest brother just went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
He said, I don't want to do nothing that y'all doing.
How's that working out for him?
He's at home taking the semester off.
Ooh. I mean, we've seen the stuff that's happened down there.
This is something that I've always wondered, because I went to a state school. I went to Kent State, and you know, I've always wondered what it was like, what it would be like going to like a predominantly Black school, just for, you know, that shared experience, but also, you know, just the prospect of coming out in the midst of that, and coming out and or being out in the midst of our community where we know there's just a lot of stuff there.
Iteration in this dancery.
Not always the most accepting and whatnot. So I'm just curious, like, what was your experience as you were navigating? You know, did you go to Howard already, you know, out of the closet, or, you know, did you come out during there? Were you on the DL? Like, what was your, and I don't need to get like all into like your situation, but like, I'm curious about what was your experience like navigating that all Black, you know, wannabe different strokes kind of world, or not different strokes, different world, not different strokes.
Different strokes to rule the world, boo. To rule the world.
That's the wrong world. That's the wrong world. No, the different world. You know, like going into the all Black experience, and then also navigating that with a shared experience, but also knowing that there is a bit of difference in how our community has taken a while, and still takes a while to really embrace, you know, that part of our community. So I'm curious how that showed up for you.
I can start. So I'm from Trenton, New Jersey. It's like the capital of New Jersey, but it's a small town. And I was not out. I had never even experimented with a guy when I was at home. So Howard was like this big city where there was gay people, and just like a more like, I guess, metropolitan lifestyle. So I thought that I did actually, like, you know, go out and explore my sexuality, but I didn't come out at Howard until the very end. And it was because I realized that when we were at Howard, I noticed that like openly gay people didn't really receive the same amount of opportunities on campus. So Howard is an extremely social school. So if you wanted to like be on student council, if you wanted to pledge something, if you wanted to do anything that required like some sort of selection process that was based off of something less than merit, sexuality played a part in it. So I made the personal decision to suppress coming out until like I think it was like graduation week. That's when I started.
She
like,
turned that tassel. She said, "Bitch."
Graduation week. It was graduation week was a mess.
She was braiding the tassel.
She said, "I got my freakum dress on."
I know that's right.
You can't tell me nothing.
I'm moving to New York.
Exactly.
Right. I don't have to be here no more.
She said, "I've been doing my stretches, leg all the way up here."
I know that's right.
Right on. What about you guys?
Yeah, Tony. Like I saw Tony shaking his head the whole time Dawon was asking the question. So
because I feel that if for anyone who was gay that couldn't be who they were in the during the full college experience, you missed out on so much just fun and exploration in a sense of like, and I get it because like if you want to pledge, if you want to do anything, like being gay at that time, or being, if they even sniffed any little inkling of that you might be gay, that ruined your chances for pledging any kind of Divine Nine organization. But I always feel that even though I went to Howard, I wasn't out when I went to Howard. I was still becoming who I was. I found out that I was gay, and I found out, I always knew I had an attraction for guys, but
okay, wait a minute. Hold up.
So much.
Pause. You found out.
You found out.
So you were just walking down the street and just a dick fell in your mouth. I mean, like,
not in that.
Oops. There goes my skirt.
Right. That's right.
I mean, I had one sexual experience with a guy, and it was just oral sex before. I went to Howard, but then when I got to Howard, it was like Pandora's box. I was able to really explore and, learn more about who I was. And when I did, I leaned into it. I didn't, and I had other gay friends, and
She fell into it.
Right. She fell into it, everything, boo.
She found out. She found out. She bent over. She flipped upside down.
Listen, but I was able to like go to gay clubs. I was able to be who unapologetically who I was, and it was a different experience. And when I tell the stories to people who didn't have that experience, or the people who were gay and didn't come out until like their senior year or after college, they all are like, "Damn, I wish that I would have allowed myself to do that." It was hard, so I don't blame anyone. Like everyone is on their own journey, but it was. Listen, we twirled. We lived.
I bet you did. I know.
And what about you, Damon? I mean,
Damon.
It rhymes with your name.
A thing, Damon, because he was like, my name is Damon, not Damon. Everybody's like, girl. But
I feel kinship though, and I feel bad that like my head is so. First of all, I have dyslexia, so that means I get stuck on certain things, and I confuse things quite a bit. So I don't want you to feel like, oh damn, like I've been talking to you for like the past month and a half, and I don't know how to pronounce your name. It's just it's a disability, and so I just
just make it.
Give me a little grace with that, especially for somebody that's. Right. Well, listen, look at my name.
It's Dawon. That's the same thing. Flip that W upside down, girl.
Exactly. Which is making it more worse because phonetically I'm reading it as my own name. Just the M is so. I apologize, but I'm just curious. What was your experience?
I was not out in undergrad. It definitely, in retrospect and hindsight, was one of those things like I was like, Tony was doing all this gay shit. I wish I was doing that. But, that's not to say I wasn't doing this gay shit, but not openly out in the world. But generally, I think the HBCU experience was something for me that I still would trade for nothing. I think that the experience to just be you and your Blackness and to meet friends and people based on who they are and not searching for kind of comfort in like a white sea of people or fellow college students. And I think furthermore, like to really think about what it is now in 2021, like even going back to how we're now or for homecoming and such, like now they have like the LGBTQ homecoming thing, and like you see all the young kids now, like the girls be wearing the boys, by the girls I mean the boys, are wearing like a dress to homecoming and pumping around like nobody's business, and like right. And like you see it and you're just like, I am so happy for the kids because like they're just like, fuck all that shit. We are here, we're queer, and y'all gonna deal with it. And I think that I guess now we're getting a little further removed. This will be our 10-year anniversary from graduating. But I think that it is definitely evolving in a way that like you can like see it. Like things like Tony may have been out, but she went sashaying around in a dress on campus. There's like
no ma'am.
But like literally there are like 2 people that we could name up probably off the top of our heads that did that when we were literally that we could name that were like kind of celebrities because they were like that bold and fearless. We're just like nobody's fucking with them. But now there's just a whole spectrum of people being whomever they are in their queerness, which is really fucking great.
That's how I feel about Atlanta. Like it took me all the way to move to Atlanta just to see such a even more vast array of just the queerness and the openness of being that and being at Lennox, sashaying down the mall, going to the gay club, like everywhere, and just the queer blackness of it. I'm just like, damn, like there's a part of me that like feels like I've maybe still been walled off maybe a little bit from parts of it where I thought I was already good with myself. That I'm like, damn, I actually would rock that blouse and look fly as fuck in it, you know, like there's certain shit like that. So I agree. It's just like you see folks younger than you and the freedom that they have. And you're like, it's cool to see the progression, even though there's still a lot more to get through. But the progression is awesome to see that.
Yeah, Kerel, we love a feminine top. That's a blouse.
Right? And literally and figuratively. Come on now. Too funny. I love that. But yeah, we're gonna have to go to Howard with them. That's what y'all gotta have to invite us down to Howard. That's what I want to go.
Catch me when I'm sober.
You know, we good for a good wig here, so we down. Yeah.
Oh, I seen.
I mean, you see one in the background right here. There she is.
Kerel, that Freakum dress video that you did took me out. I was like, oh my God. I downloaded the filter and everything. Yes. I did it myself. I didn't have the wig, but I'll get the wig so I can recreate it.
Got it. Look, you can borrow one of mine. I've got that for you.
Yes, you have a wig closet?
Jordan, you can take braids out.
Absolutely. And that's part of the freedom for myself. Like literally, like my mom sees it. Like everyone sees it. And there's just this freedom where it's just like I'm just being my genuine self, being silly, being whatever it is, and not genuinely caring because at the end of the day, it don't mean shit. Like I did a video about Freakum dress with a wig on. Like it doesn't really mean shit. But it was fun, and that's how I was feeling that day. That was on my spirit. So guess what? That's what I did, you know? And so it kind of goes back to that statement. It's just like the freedom, still finding more freedom, even that I just turned 37. Still finding that freedom to be who you want to be and who you have always been, because this shit has always been playing in my head since I was like 8. But to finally have the avenues, honestly, with like the TikToks and everything, to get out what the random creativeness and silliness in my head, I am so here for it.
I think that does speak a little bit to just the trauma of growing up in not just the Black family, not just the Black community, not just the American community, but like just surrounded by people that box you in and tell you like this is like you almost feel this pressure of being restricted to the box that other people put you in. Like you have to be, if you're a man, you have to act like a man. You got to walk like a man. You got to talk like a man. You got to get a certain kind of job. You got to make a certain kind of money. You got to live in a certain kind of neighborhood. You got to, there are all these things that you have to do. And, like none of that takes into consideration who you are, what you want, and how you want to express yourself. you know, and that's tough to work through. I'm so thankful that, you know, kids today, and now I'm starting to sound like an old man, because it's like when you see like, you know, the Wade's, what's Maya Wade, what's her name? Dwayne Wade's
Zaya.
Oh, Zaya.
Thank you.
Alexa.
When you see people like that who have parents who are supporting the gender expression, the creative expression, the whatever expression, right? Without boundaries, without putting stuff on them, and to see just the joy that they have being and expressing who they are, it's great to see those doors open. And it's been a long journey to see that happen. But then when you look back at your own journey, it's like, I don't know about you all, but there are moments where I am still unpacking shit that has been put on my shoulders that, you know, that I've taken on, that I've, you know, like adopted for, you know, for good or for bad, and trying to break through that stuff. Like, Kerel, you were talking about like, oh yeah, I could rock that, you know, that blouse, or, you know, that skirt, or that jock strap, or whatever.
All
and
the
it's
above.
Like, right. You know, but like even getting into the mindset of like that, regardless of its social acceptability, is like, you know what, I'm going to do it because that makes me happy. And it takes such a long time to kind of get to that place of freedom, you know, to say, damn, you know, everybody else and what they think, you know, I'm just going to do what makes me happy. And then I think about like the queer influences, I suppose, that we've been exposed to in our own unique lives. And, you know, it's typically that person that is very effeminate, right? That stands out to us because that's the most visible version. And it's like, there's almost that visceral, like, I don't like that, because there's part of oneself that says, I don't like the fact that I'm not, I don't like that part of myself. Meanwhile, they're fucking living their life. They're like free. They're like, they are completely free, and we're all shackled up. So it's just interesting to see that dynamic and how it plays out.
Yeah. To add into that topic, I think it's always really interesting to decide exactly who you want to be in the concept of freedom, because the concept of freedom is unique to every single person. I think one of the things, as we were starting our podcast, and we say at the beginning of in our like intro, is to like evaluate society's expectations and reject the ones we don't see it for. So like part of it is saying like society may have certain expectations, and there may be certain things that I agree with. Like there may be certain levels and norms or things that feel true to the person that I am, that I incorporate into the individual that I am. And there are certain things from like, fuck that. Like I want no parts of it. Leave me out of it. I'm going to pave whatever path that I want for myself. And I think the blend of those two things is what's most interesting. I think too often we try and like box ourselves into like, I have to be the rebel for everything and for every cause, or I have to be the person that fits directly into the rules that are set up to be a corporate American, or the rules that it means to be a person with a degree, and so on. But I think it's the blend of things that makes people much more interesting.
So. You better preach that.
What I love about your podcast, just listening to it, is your personalities, the uniqueness of each and every one of you really comes through. And I think that you give a window into who you are and what you believe through the way that you present yourselves and discuss openly these topics through your medium. And I think that's really impressive. And I think it's phenomenal because we talk all the time about the fact that the Black queer experience is not monolithic. And part of the reason why we got together was very similar to how you got together, is that we didn't see that kind of the voice of that Black queer, Black gay, however one identifies, experience being portrayed and allowing us to identify. So it's like, be the representation that you want to see in the world, and you guys do that as well, which I think is really phenomenal.
I agree with that, because I listen. Oh, go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I just think that's I think that's why the three of us work as friends, because it's a spectrum with us. It's you have Damon on one side, I'm kind of like in the middle, and Jordan's on the other side. And I think that's been most surprising to our friends or just people who are getting to know us, is that the three of us are very different and we don't all think exactly alike. And they see that play out in the podcast. And we've gotten to see that we're becoming even more of who we are, and it reflects back in the podcast. And it's just so fun to see us grow, because we know when Jordan's stretching himself and saying something that he wouldn't ordinarily do, or we know when Damon is maybe, you know, being open to a different thing and not this person that people think he's always like has his foot on your neck. And sometimes I'm not always Switzerland. I'm not always in the middle. I can have a very firm opinion about things too, but the growing process has been so phenomenal. So Jerrell, and by the way, we have the same. Well, my middle name is your first name. And it's spelled exactly like that. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that was the first thing when Dawon hit us up. I was like, there's a guy on there. His name is Jerrell, and it's spelled exactly how my middle name is spelled. But anywho.
I think on the thing on that last episode, I think someone said your government name, because I think you said Damon's government name. And I was like, I think she says rebel. I wasn't sure, you know. I'm like, I ain't gonna rewind that part. But no, honestly, I was just gonna say, like, how you mentioned the spectrum. I think that's one of the things that I love about your podcast, is because, like, listening to it, like, I relate to Damon and how he like answered his questions. Like, he's like, I just love how he like, you really sit in your confidence when you answer your questions, and I'm like, that's who I am. I'm like, you know what, that's just how I feel, you know, and that's who I am. But then I'd be like, Jordan though gets me, because, you know, he's like, I ain't feeling, I ain't here for it. and like the attitude is so much me. But then like when earlier you said that Tony is like the social chair, and I'm like, bitch, that's me too. Like, get the whole spectrum with y'all. I'm like, maybe I am crazy, because I'm like 3 different people right now listening to the podcast. And I'm like, maybe it is me after all. I need to go back to some of these other relationships and be like, my bad.
It was me. It was me.
It was me. But yeah, I mean, like, I honestly love it so much. So.
And I just love seeing Black men in the friendship visible. Like, that's another avenue I feel isn't out there a lot, that we always have to be beefing with like our friends or like our community. That's not the case, like, you know, and so I just love seeing other podcasts that are Black men, and there's space for everyone. That's another thing. Be like, oh, you're gonna have Black men on your podcast? Yeah, I'm going to. Like why wouldn't we? You know,
right?
There's space for all of it, because again, we're not monolithic, and the spectrum is massive. So it's just like, come on now. So I that's what I thoroughly enjoy about it, just seeing another podcast of queer Black men telling their truth, honestly. You know?
I'm curious about seeing you in your crop top now. I was shopping today, right? And yes.
A little skin.
I saw these crop tops today, and I was like, I'm gonna buy these crop tops.
Damon cut this up for me.
Yeah, see.
So I
love how everyone gave me shit for years saying I love a crop top, and now crop tops are in again. And now everyone's like, oh, I want a crop top now. See?
I'm just saying, I'm here for it. I'm going back to my cart, because I was going to buy 2. And I was like, you know what? It's March. I'm going to wait till May, because, you know, I'm going to need a good 6 weeks to lose some of these pounds. But I'm going to buy that bitch now. I'm going to buy it now.
Do it, boo.
Right now.
I'm curious about, like, just getting back to like the concept of your podcast and the surface level. You know, I'm curious. It took you 10 months to kind of like through the planning process. You got the podcast out, you had your first couple episodes. How long, just in retrospect, how long did it take you to realize that you found your voice through the podcast?
For me, I think it wasn't until after the first season. Like I said earlier in our conversation, I was probably the most hesitant coming into the recording sessions. I just think the worst. I'm just like, am I going to say something that's off color? And then what if somebody who I like work with or has like some type of power in my life says, you know what, no more for Jordan. And that's where my right. That's where my mind went. So I felt like, you know, I sort of went into a lot of episodes sort of defensive and just kind of like on edge. And I think that it wasn't until we sort of got the reception from season 1 where, you know, people felt like my perspective was in alignment with theirs. And I felt like, I don't know, I just felt a little bit more confident to like allow people to see my full growth. So, you know, when I don't have the answer, when I do have the answer. And I think that in season 2, you know, I think that the feedback that I generally got was that I was a little bit more open, a little bit more fun, a little bit more just like authentic with my responses. So I feel like it sucks, but it kind of took like the outside validation for people, for me to hear that, to be like, oh, okay, like I don't have to give like, you know, I don't have to give like the corporate answer for everything. You know, like sometimes I can just like say what I want, and if people don't agree with it and people think that I'm trash because of it, I mean, that's gonna hurt. But like you learn to get over it, or you learn to like deal with it and understand.
That's a valid ass statement.
So what?
I still have my friends. I still have my friends, and I still have my family, and I feel like that's the most important. It's brought me and my friends together closer. It's brought me and my family together closer. My mom has listened to the podcast. My cousins who are straight has listened to the podcast, and I feel like that's what I like celebrate more than I guess the chance of someone maybe not agreeing or thinking that my opinion is invalid.
That's right, Auntie Mary.
You're right, Mary.
Okay. Mary.
No, it's funny too, because when we were because we developed the podcast and then the pandemic happened. So then we had to kind of redevelop the podcast and like switch everything we planned on doing. We were like, oh, this will blow over. We'll like push back launching for a month. That didn't happen. Here we are.
Said,
Right.
But no, it was funny as we were doing things. So we did like some test records, and like Jordan and Tony, like before things went out to people, and we kept saying to Jordan, we're like, Jordan, more people will identify with like you showing an insecurity, or you showing that you like maybe don't know the answer, or maybe you don't feel confident in an area, versus like we go back and forth, like, well, you feel like you know how you feel about this thing, and people will like that. That's the right answer. I'm like, most people, and it's still true, most people don't identify with me. Like that's not, that's not a thing. Like I get on there, I'm like, this is the way it is. This is how I'm like, and most people don't think that way, and I'm fine with that. Like I'm that way because I'm fine with that. I don't need people to agree with me. But I'm just like, more people will agree with that like uncertainty, and will appreciate that in the midst of like me, and especially in the first season, me having like my foot on your neck. Like it's a thing where like people will they'll appreciate it, and I think people did, and I think that it has helped you like push yourself a bit more. So it's been definitely a growth thing for all of us.
Yeah, I think for me, because I've always had my voice, but because I've always had my voice, but I've not always been so transparent or so just visible about like just forthcoming with what's going on with me in my life, in my world, even with the closest of friends. So for me, it was really season 2 with talking about my status and being HIV positive and having that episode. And that for me was a big deal. Like I only talked to a few friends of mine, Damon and Jordan being a couple of them, that knew prior to that episode coming out. But I think after that episode came out, I felt a weight off my shoulder, but not in the sense of like I had to do that. I still don't think that if we didn't have the podcast, the world would still not know. Like it would still probably be kept to like the people who I've told. But like this gave me a platform to be able to like share my story, and hopefully it be able to help someone else out there who is experiencing the same thing, who has experienced the same thing. It's allowed me to have different conversations with people that I haven't been able to have up until this point. And so now I feel like, okay, bitch, what else are we doing? Like, and so now it feels like I'm excited for what we get to do moving forward now.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. People just don't realize this is almost selfish on our part. Like, we enjoy it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like Jerrell, you said earlier, it's like therapy. It's like, seriously, like, especially during this pandemic, like, there's episodes you could just hear that we're just tired. And then George Floyd hits. We're just extra tired. Ahmaud Arbery hits. We're just tired. But that's what we were feeling in the moment. And that's who we were in that moment. And it is what it is. And we had each other to kind of get through it, deal with it, talk through it, and keep it pushing. And, oh, you all actually liked it out there? Like, cool. That's a cherry on top.
Right.
But it's just like being able to share your full, or as close to your full self. Because, I mean, there's still probably stuff they don't know about me. But
let us be on the air for another hour, for another year. There won't be that much left over. Because after 2 years, baby,
I shared a lot. Like, to the point where, like, my dad one day hit me up and he's like, "Your mom was listening to the podcast and she said X, Y, Z." I was like, "Oh God." I don't want to have that worry of having to be afraid of my parents still. Be like, "Damn, I probably shouldn't have said that."
Look, they grown. I'm glad my family don't listen. They grown. They had 3 kids. They know what's up.
That part.
See, mine don't listen because they already know everything that I would say on the podcast. I would definitely have said it to them already.
Well, your family walk around naked but with each other. So there's nothing but transparency.
Absolutely.
Nothing but transparency.
We sure did. We talk about everything under the sun, and they already got the smoke. So they know what's up. What? They don't need to go here.
You know what though? I think, you know, if I think about relationships, particularly Black queer relationships, en masse, you know, I think about the fact that there is so much that is superficial, right? There's so much that's on the, you know, not to pun, but like surface level, right? You know, it's about who you know, it's about what parties you're going to, it's about what you're wearing. This all surface stuff. And I think what has really come to light for me is that through all the fakery, buffoonery, you know, the showmanship and all of that stuff that you see through social media, et cetera, I think underneath it, people crave, there's a lot of people that crave realness, something that's authentic, something that is, you know, something that's vulnerable, something that shows that we see so much through social media of things that are perfect, like, oh, the perfect meal, the perfect vacation, the perfect relationship, like all of these things that are like the ideals of, you know, what people aspire to, but none of like the struggle. And I just get the sense, and we hear from our fans all the time, or our listeners all the time, that, you know, they so appreciate when we're able to share those real moments where you didn't know the answer, you're struggling with what's going on. Like, just that gives them a little bit more license to lean a little bit more into their own insecurities and just recognize that that's just part of fucking life. You know, like, we don't have it figured out, and we're not going to have it all figured out at the same time, but it's okay because we are figuring it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Preach.
I think we spent like, just thinking about like figuring it, like we spent the whole first season. So background to me, my father passed last summer from cancer, but we spent, as we were releasing the first season, we were basically putting out, recording, and then in tandem, he was getting progressively more ill. And we spent we released on a Tuesday. I had to fly home like that Saturday. Then I came back and I was like, hey, we have to finish everything because I'm going to have to go back home very soon. So we like spent literally a weekend. And if you've looked at anything for our podcast, we do like photos and covers that like relate to every episode and so on and so forth. So we recorded like 6 episodes, shot all these things over the span of like 48 hours. I flew home for a couple weeks, came back. Then I hadn't told them this, but I texted both of them. I was like, hey, I need to wrap everything up for the podcast by Tuesday. I don't want to talk about why, but we just need to do things. So we were going through that process of like, we do our last episode is called Beyond the Surface Level, which is our like recap of the season. And as we were going through this recap, I just found out my father was going into hospice care. And that I talked about it on the podcast, the last episode of our first season. It's like one of the last things I say in the first episode. And that was like a Tuesday. And then that Saturday, my father passed away. And then when for his services, Jordan and Tony came to, I'm from Chicago. They came to Chicago, and we like wanted the cup. So we were trying to figure out like, oh, how do we shoot like something to like say thank you for last season. And we had originally had all these ideas. And then we ended up just shooting us with my mom on the steps of my house with like a message and talking about dedicating the season to my father. And I say all that to say that you deal with all this shit, and we're doing a thing that, and I think Jerrell said it earlier, that's like, this is kind of like therapy for us. And for me, it was one of those things. Oh, and I didn't mention we did this episode in the first season called Dad. That episode's called Dad, I'm a Bottom. And it was about the experiences coming out to our fathers, all varying different experiences. And on one of my trips when I was home, the last time my father was truly like lucid before he became really ill, he listened to the episode with me. Nice. Like, and you like really talk about the experience of like therapy, doing a thing for yourself, having a shared experience with family that like is something that I will always cherish. Furthermore, doing a thing where like your friends are then like directly connected to your experience with family and your life. And it just so happens that like from there, people were like, oh my God, like this helped me. Like you speaking so openly and honestly about grief or about the things you were going through was helpful to me. And it's just like, and to your point, like that's the cherry on top. That was never the intention.
Right.
Me pouring myself into this was like me trying to just stay present and survive a moment in my life that was really, really tough. So yeah, like it definitely is something that like we do for ourselves. And I think that doing the thing for yourself and doing it for yourself authentically is the thing that people can most relate to without you even trying. Like people relate to you when you're not even trying to get them to relate to you.
That part, yeah.
Which I think is really, really fucking dope. So
thank you to everyone that listens. Thank you. Well, we're gonna have them, like, we could talk with y'all all day, so we're gonna have them. We say this to like everyone, but like we mean it. Like we need to have like part 2s and 3s and 4s.
I'm telling you, Rona just don't know what's gonna happen. Like the world don't know what's gonna happen once shit opens up again. Yeah. It's gonna be we're
gonna be everywhere.
I'm scared. I'm scared. It's gonna be a mess.
Look, I'm gonna be over here from the side being like, ooh.
I'm ready.
Go ahead, girl.
I get that second shot on April 2nd, bitch. That second shot.
Next Saturday.
You get your second shot next Saturday?
Next Saturday.
Ooh, I get mine on the 31st.
Let me wait them little 10 to 14 days, bitch. I'm off this house.
I'm coming to Atlanta, so
please do. Please do.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I did just book a house for a week in Palm Springs. And
I love Palm Springs.
I got my second shot, bitch. I'm like,
wait, when?
I'm gonna be there
we could talk
on the 16th to the 22nd. Look, they all know everything.
Right, that's so true. I want to go. Okay, anyway, we need to get to Ask Yo AunTeas. Because I'm talking about Palm Springs all night now. Okay,
I know you will.
I love Palm Springs.
Right?
Me too, man.
It's everything. It's white as hell, but it's everything.
I just go to be poolside. We got like that house called like the Elvis Presley house. Like that's cute.
Yeah, you gotta get like a cute mid-century home in Palm Springs. Right? Perfect.
In the mountains in the background. Oh, it's everything. Anyway, okay, what time is it?
Ask your Okay, am I reading this or are you reading this, Jerrell?
You go ahead. You picked it. You about to read this. Absolutely.
This is not. So this is from Anonymous. Why do some guys advertise? Why does? Oh my God! I can't believe it.
I'm nervous.
Okay. Why do some guys advertise to the world that they're hung, yet their pics tell a totally different story? Can't tell you how many times a guy has messaged me with quote unquote hung in his name and shows me a 5-inch cock. There's nothing wrong with how big your cock is or little, but I just don't get it why people have to make such an obvious lie. We can roughly tell how big you are judging from your pics, especially when you've upsized yourself by several inches. Do you think we're stupid?
Oh, damn. They didn't even ask us a question. They just told us a statement.
Oh, they're saying it looked like this one. It should have looked like
where did these bananas come from?
Where did it come from?
It
was a
She got props.
Not on the bedside, Tony.
How long do you think this is gonna be in this call? Did you get hungry? Like, I don't understand.
Right. She
She
said,
stay
ready,
bitch. And she got two. Okay.
It was two. I don't know if it was this or
said, I don't gotta get ready.
or if it was just this.
Oh no.
She showed up to the picnic with the snack. Okay, I'm not mad at it. She said, if this conversation is not lit, I'm going to have something to occupy my mouth.
I know that's right.
If the conversation isn't flowing, I'm going to be chomping on something.
I know that's right.
I'll be getting my protein.
So I'm trying to figure out what the damn question is. So is it why do guys advertise to the world they're home?
That's it. When their pics tell a different story.
Oh, we'll let the guest aunties go first.
Why do they lie?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but they want to get blocked. I feel like you can't trust people like that in your home.
Ooh,
and you can't go into their home either because it's probably a mess. Because people who lie have dirty homes. Let that out.
I can't.
And you can't bring them into your house because they steal.
Ooh, you right on that. I feel you on that.
So,
that's 100.
I don't know. Honestly, you can't even get mad. You just got to block. Like, as soon as you get that picture, it's just like,
I'm adopting you. You're not an auntie anymore. You're my niece. I'm adopting you.
Yes, niece. I can be your niece.
Jordan is our resident white woman, so.
But you can't come in here.
She said because their house is dirty and because they steal.
They do. That's such a crazy thing to lie about. Like, we're not going to find out.
You're right. You're right.
My grandmother would ask one question: why you lie so?
I know that.
Like,
right.
It's going to be gonna find out. Like, why? Like, that it just doesn't make sense to me when people can do that, and then you show up to a place, and then what are they expecting when you get there? That, well, some people now. We're not going to talk about this because it's a whole nother conversation about, like, you know, pity sex or pity this or pity that.
Yeah.
Pity pat. I only know pity pat. I'm like, I don't know. Pity sex. That show up and it's not, you know what, how it looks. And then you get there in real life. It's like how it is in real life. It's giving.
My go-to is to ask them if they want water, because then I take my time figuring out how I'm going to kick them out while I'm making the glass of water. And then I come back with the water and I say, you could finish this, but you need to leave.
Shut the hell up. I'm here for it.
That's my niece. Yes, girl. That is my niece right there.
You gotta figure it out because you don't know if they fight. They'll start breaking stuff in my house.
No.
The list of felonies and misdemeanors is starting to get longer.
I just want to see how she hands off that glass.
They steal.
Like,
they break shit in the house.
The whole character is in question. The whole character is in question.
See, you ain't getting no water in my house. I'm gonna look you straight in your eyes and be like, I'm sorry, you have to go.
See, thank you. That is me.
Because also, like, if you're in my house, I know where the knives are here, so I ain't got to worry about if you fight. So we're fine.
Jerrell, I think you found your niece.
Look, I already said the way you answer questions.
Tony
exactly
might
Jordan, look, you and me us never part. Well,
because I'm definitely like, look, you can leave the same way you got here.
Bye.
And I'll be quick to be like, and look, I don't want no pictures because fucking angle, bitch, send me a video because you can't, because the video ain't gonna lie like the angles. Thank you. Show don't.
Okay, Tony, is it a match?
Is it a match?
Is what a match.
We got Jerrell and I already got our nieces. I'm trying to figure out.
First of all, look, Damon and I are like close to the same age. I can't be nobody auntie for real.
I mean, it's in your name, boo. It's
me and Tony,
Listen,
me and Tony was here together with the crop top.
Obviously the most,
right.
Get go.
And the social butterfly-ness.
Social chairs.
Around the energy. Like, is that a question? Of course it's a match.
She said, do you see this fireplace?
Right. This is just a weird question to me.
I'm giving you dramatic.
Strange question.
It's very
I don't understand why anybody is disinvested in.
Though. Is this a race question though? Like, do you see that this happens more in the white world?
I'm gonna drink my
then in the black.
I'm with you, Jerrell.
I just want to know.
Hold on.
Inquiring minds want to know. Like, where do you see this coming up?
Hold on. Because you guys, we know. I did a little research. We all discussed this. You guys are in interracial relationships. All three of you. Am I correct in that?
That is correct.
So that's a question for y'all.
I know that's right.
You and your guys.
I know that's right.
All right, that was fun. Bye.
Shout out to everybody.
And we found the teaser.
Oh my God! I went from being black to red.
You sure did.
Literally.
Like we had an episode actually talking about just almost like the fetishization of black men. I'm trying to it's almost two sides of the question now. This specific question, this is weird to me. Like, I never experienced people lying, I guess maybe that blatantly about their dick size. Because like you said, like you get the picture, you get the video, you're like, either I want it or I don't, like whatever it is. And we're not trying to shame whatever your dick size is, we're not going to do all that. But I agree, like why lie? And it probably goes back to like the whole toxic masculinity and this whole perception of what it has to be, especially actually in the gay community. Like, there's just like this whole, the biggest penis on earth is like just what everybody wants. And so you get a quote unquote, whatever normal sized dick and you're like, oh, gross, whatever. No, there's some good ass normal sized dicks out there too.
Yeah.
Like, can we what's the psychology behind this? Like, would you rather be rejected online or rejected in person? In person seems awful. Now I gotta walk back home. I'm sad. I'm depressed.
And what happened was,
and I feel bad for them because they're gonna realize they got the wrong one. Because I'm gonna tell you to your face, they think that they like, oh, I'm gonna go to their person face, and they're not gonna tell me no because oh no, let me tell you, I'm gonna tell you and then some. Okay.
Wait, are you gonna tell them
some homework as I kick your ass out of my house?
Are you gonna tell them because it's not up to whatever size you want? Or are you doing it because
tell them because they lie? I'm gonna tell them
exactly
because I'm not a size queen. First of all, like I said plenty of times, I'm a bottom. So if I make it my mind, if you coming over and this is the expectations, you didn't set this bar, right. That bitch better deliver. That's all I got to say. You and on time. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm asking. You know,
Amazon Prime.
Okay now, because I'll be transparent. Look, I've been with some guys who were well hung and didn't know how to slang what they got, and I'm like, that was a waste of time. You know,
right.
But then I've been with some who just knew exactly what to do, and they'd be like, "Whoo, shit, bitch! I need a water break. I need to tap out real quick. You know, like need to powder my face real quick again because a bitch laid the fuck out.
Right.
You know, but again, it's all about if this is what you're advertising,
right?
Give what you're selling at the end of the day.
I was
gonna say I would just encourage those who are in that place of feeling like they need to lie to get someone, I encourage you to dig deep inside yourself and find a way to love yourself so much that you love what you have to give, because what you got is what you got at the end of the day, you know. And so if you just gonna lie about it, that means you aren't happy about what you got. Love yourself at the end of the day. That's what it truly boils down to me, is you may need to figure out how it is to fill your cup so that you don't have to worry about trying to fill someone else's cup.
Because that comes across too, like in the way.
You can't fill my cup.
Ooh, don't fill your cup.
Or my hole for that matter. Or my hole for that matter, bitch. Just saying.
My cup needs to runneth over.
Runneth over.
Is there another question?
That's what Yana said. She said, "What's in my cup is for me. What spill out is for y'all."
Oh, I think I've seen that in a porn flick before. Okay, what's spill out is for y'all? Okay.
I don't know what, baby. You might have been watching something else.
You know, she got 2 Twitter accounts, girl. So you know
the burner account. It's all about the burner account.
When I do think back to like my single days, and the whole prospect of like, you know, meeting people like, you know, virtually or whatever. If somebody had the words hung in their like
bio
name, not so much the bio, but like the name specifically, block. Like, because in my mind, there is something fucked up about the way that you're thinking that is what you're leading with. Because that's usually the first thing that you see, depending on what you're doing. You see a picture and then you see a name or whatever. And then if you like, you know, click in, you get to see their bio and shit like that if you're interested in that. But
if
to
you're
me,
in the bio,
right.
Sometimes a picture's enough.
That part.
Sometimes you gotta put your best foot forward.
See, there you go. So
like,
I just something just intellectually to me, anyways, just says. Anybody that puts that in their name, for me, says that either you have so much ego about what you have that this sex, if you're looking for sex, like this sex ain't gonna be good, because now what it tells me is it's about you, not about me. And then the other part of it is like the lie part of it is then you could just be overcompensating. And that's a whole other problem, because you're setting yourself up and me up for failure, because this coordination of getting together and all that kind of shit that needs to happen in order to like bring somebody over, that takes work and energy. And
you're over here prepping yourself and like, damn, I don't prep myself in this it.
I mean, for those,
look, I used to be a professional hoe. That's why you have a plan B, bitch. Okay, look, just in case plan A falls through, bitch, you gotta be.
It's giving. Why are you down there?
Oh Lord. So like the grand scheme is, don't lie about what you got, because you, like you said, we're gonna find out. Like if it's gonna come to fruition, we're going to find out one way or the other. It's gonna be disappointment on our end and disappointment on your end. However, if you set those expectations up from the get-go, it is what it is. Like, you know, I mean, back in the day, I've seen the plethora of sizes, you know, but and like Jerrell, you said, like there's somewhere the mighty falls and the small rises. I don't know, but you know, it's like, but then there's some mighties that did the damn thing.
Let me ask this question. Is not part of the Ask Your Auntie, but I'm
so before
curious,
that one,
like,
send your Ask Your Auntie questions to aya@minoritetyreport.com or DM us for your future questions, aya@minoritetyreport.com. Okay, there you go, Dawon.
At what length and girth do you have to be in order to justify having the word hung in your name?
Oh. And community, get ready. This is gonna be the question of the week.
And that was a teaser.
This is the teaser. This is the appetizer. Okay. Well,
This is the meal.
This is just the tip. This is just the tip, okay?
I'm going to answer this so that, you know, they can take the main course. Let's see. What would consider, well, you know,
yeah, what length and what girth do you have to be to justify having the word hung in your title, in your name?
Well, let me start by saying that everyone's sense of metrics are different. I don't know, like some people, like I'm just like
she's a politician. She's not gonna answer it straightforward.
That's my niece. That is my niece. Go ahead, boo. Come on now. Tell them what it is.
Some people start the ruler, you know, after the ball sack. Some people start the ruler at the belly button. I don't know why they do it.
Right.
I'm done.
But they all give you different answers. So what I will say
come with your own ruler
is that I mean I would say like 8 inches, 8.5 inches would probably be like considered hung if it's like, you know, have a little like heaviness to it.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's almost about the heft of it. Like
I think that heavy is like a little bit more like, I guess it lends itself well more so to.
I want a concussion, you know, like how what my name is, where we at.
But yeah, I think that like girth probably like contributes more to like hunger in my mind in terms of like the definition than length.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm nice. I'm very like, I will Google and be like, what's the average penis size? And I'm like, you know what? Because I'm gonna set the bar low because I don't want to be disappointed. So I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna set it low.
But the question is, what size minimally? What size must it be to justify you having the words hung as part of your name? That's the question.
I almost think sometimes when I'm like, because hung is like Jordan kind of said, is like different for depending on who you talk to. Because sometimes in my mind, when people are like hung, I'm like, you got a horse dick that can't nobody deal with.
Right.
It's one of those that don't even get fully erect. It's just like, you doing a silhouette challenge and it's like giving a whole
a kickstand. You leaning on it.
All right, I'm gonna just rest here. What can you do with like someone who's truly hung? But like what Jordan described is like, okay, like you make it work with that. Like that can be figured out. But I don't know, Dawon. That's a tough one.
I think it goes both ways. Because I think it also may depend on the bottom too. You know, like how experienced is the bottom, because not everyone can take a lot. Some people like, you put a pinky in there, like, oh shit, bitch, I'm dead. You know, people will be like, oh, you know. So
I give him a good RuPaul.
Right. They got a girl.
Don't.
All right, Damon. Come on,
we all believed in you.
Come on, Damon. What you say now?
I don't know. I feel like 8 is where you can probably talk about it in your headline if you want to be that gaudy about yourself. Yeah, strength. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. And like for me, like team verse life here, I think it's the same way with cakes too. Like if you put like the peach and everything and cake emojis and shit like that, like your ass better be fat in.
It'd be like a white twink.
What's the Andrew Christian underwear bitch that did the lift and throw him, so it make it look like that guy case?
So it's just like, for me, I see it both ways. It's just like, if you're going to advertise that, like you say, you're setting up these expectations, and if it doesn't get met, disappointment for everyone.
Just in the picture. Just in the picture.
Exactly.
Let me make up my mind.
I go back to like kind of like Jerrell. Like I like FaceTime me real quick. Like make it because I'm scared of the catfish moment. And if I do get a catfish moment, I am like Jerrell, where it's given. I gotta go. I'm leaving immediately. I'm not having this pity sex.
You ain't getting no water in my house. Not in my filter water. Not my filter water that's been in there cooling.
You know, the game changer is having an intercom with a video system on it, because then you don't even have to buzz them up.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
then it's just a swift block.
It's
just like, you know,
wrong address.
Just go home. Just go home.
Yeah.
See, that's part of the like. That's why I'm glad I'm married, because like that's the part of the word like I just don't miss. all that shit. Like it's all of it is just insecurities. It's like I'm just so past having to deal with other folks' insecurities because I'm still trying to deal with my damn self. Like I ain't got time for all this bullshit. So
I
it's
just
like
wonder. The realty is I'll just bust one up by myself, and all of a sudden I don't want
part.
no motherfucking body, bitch.
That part.
I don't need you. I don't need you.
Clear mind.
Right.
Clear mind.
I thought
why was I even texting you? This is
right?
Turn off the whole phone.
I do wonder. I do wonder if like these
handshaking myself. Thank you, girl. Thank you.
Well, you gotta clean it first. But that's messy.
Hello.
Okay,
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
See, we take it too far. Sorry, surface level. We take it too far.
Listen, no.
But
at surface level, we go beneath the surface.
Like
some conversations have gone deep.
Tony goes deep.
I do wonder though.
We go beneath and beyond.
I do wonder like how many like really like below average individuals these people must be having sex with to feel like, you know, they're hung. Because relativity, like if you're having sex with people who have, you know, like their stuff
I think it's that. I think it's the insecurity.
You know
part
what?
Of it.
But I'm just wondering, like, you know, if you're 5, maybe 6 hard, and then but the people that you've been messing with are like below that, then it could be like, oh yeah, damn, you know, you really got some stuff to work with.
Insecurity within the gay culture, quite honestly.
If they watch porn, they know what the t is.
Seriously.
Right.
That part.
I call it
all them categories. All them categories. Bitch, you find your.
Especially nowadays, everybody got camera. It's like a lot of amateur shit out there.
You just get on Twitter.
Thank you. See, like everyone was like, "Bro, you got a burner Twitter account?" Yes, bitch. Twitter is lit as fuck.
Yes.
I love Twitter. It's my favorite app. I would pay for Twitter.
Now, 2 years ago, nobody was on Twitter. Now everybody's like,
Tumblr went down.
Tumblr went down, and
Tumblr died. Yeah, because I deleted my real Twitter because I was like, I know I said something crazy when I was like 19 that I don't need to find.
You're right on that. Actually, I never really used Twitter that much. All of it ended up being for porn. So I was like, you know what? They can see what I'm liking. Let me get this burner real quick. Let me get this burner. So anyway, but okay. So I know we're a little later in the episode because we could talk to you guys all day. We definitely have to hit on a lot of the stuff that's happening right now with the Asian hate crime, the white terrorists again. That people just don't want to deal with. And by people, I mean white people, because we ain't dealing with your shit. Get your community together, please. Thank you. But living here in Atlanta and knowing the areas that these spas were at hits home, especially like, I mean, he started literally north of the city, drove down. So that's a fucked up thing. It's just like he started 30 miles north of the city and had time to comprehend what the fuck he just did. Drive into the city and literally Jerrell, like it's like a mile, not even maybe a mile from where Buck lives. So it's just like, so like the area where he's at is like in the city. Like it's crazy. Shoot up some more people and then start driving south because he wanted to go to Florida.
He wanted to go to Florida.
It's wild to me.
But y'all hear the narrative that came out today that they're trying to spin that he had these sexual desires or fantasies or whatever, and he was trying to eliminate that. I'm like, trying to take race out of the picture. Bitch, but the sexual desire was to a race of individuals. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you just.
So to the Asian community, like. I feel for you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to really say because that's insanity. But for the white community, you need to stand up against your community and be like, this is fucking enough. because it's impacting. Because I mean, there were other folks within the spas. Like there was one guy that came out and like he was video recording so he could document it just to give to the police, and it's just like it's affecting your community as well. Yes, it's affecting the Asian community, but like there's other folks that are collateral damage in this shit. So this is so mind-boggling, and for the cops to come out and say, "Oh, he had a bad day," fuck you, cop, because no,
yeah, he should have been fired for that.
Literally,
he should have been fired for that. Like,
so.
Can you imagine a bad day being that bad?
Like, what happened? What could possibly happen for you to kill 8 people?
Right? Like, this is me on a bad day.
The level.
Also, me on a good day.
Okay.
The level of
right.
But no.
The level of white forgiveness and white like just absurdity. It's frustrating. And there was an article that came out. I was just looking it up. There was an article that came out on NBC that said how Black people can be strong allies to the Asian Americans right now. And I'm just like,
girl,
at what point do white people own they shit? Like, we've been struggling. Black people have been fucking struggling for like the most of this time being in this fucking on this fucking planet. Like, we can't take on somebody else's struggle. Like, and this is not a Black person issue. This is a white person who did some fucked up shit. So first of all, stop not labeling this person as a white terrorist, because that's what he is. He's a white terrorist. He's committing hate crimes against Asian people.
Bought the gun that day, which is another issue.
And what is with this justification for this behavior? Like, just call this shit what it is. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast, the New York Times, The Daily, and they were having this whole conversation about like why it's so difficult for them to label it a hate crime. And one thing that really stood out to me was that they talked about how the Asian community doesn't have like these huge symbols that everybody recognizes as racism. So like for Black people like us, like if we see a noose, we know that it's race related. If we hear the N-word, we know that it's race related. And that can help make the case for a hate crime. And Asian people don't have those same, I guess, symbols, or say like at the magnitude of what we do, or maybe what Jews have. So I thought that was like pretty interesting, but it's still just like, it's really fucked up because it is a moment that everybody's reflecting. When you talk about that NBC article, I actually think that topic is valuable from a Black news source. Like, because I think a lot of Black people are trying to figure out how they can be allies and how they can help create awareness around this. But like for a news outlet that is targeting the general population, which is predominantly white, why do you feel like you need to like single out Black people to be the
and 2 points on top, and 2 points on top of that, number one, and 2 points on top of that, number one, when it came to Black Lives Matter, there was a big question coming from other minority groups in terms of where is their support. But Black people have always and continue to always step in to show support for other minority groups, so we don't get that back. So that's problematic. I think the number two is, regardless of whether there is an overt signal or sign or something of that nature that signifies a hate crime, the fact of the matter is that this person went out of their way to enact terror and killed multiple people. So even if they didn't identify it as a hate crime, they should have identified it as a mass shooting, and they're not doing either. And so
it was targeted.
It was very targeted. It was premeditated because he bought the gun. He was going there and he was planning on going to. So there was premeditated action that built up to it. So this notion, this idea that again, like this notion of like white absolution. Like, let's find all the ways to mitigate responsibility, right? There aren't any symbols for the Asian community about racism. He was having a bad day. Like, that's all fucking bullshit. Like, you're skirting around the issue. The issue is this motherfucker bought a gun and he was going to kill some Asian people in Atlanta, and he was going to do the same thing in Florida, period. Let's call a spade a spade.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was really hard to hear stories about just the random acts of hate where you have like an old white women or old white men being like pushed down in the street just like for no reason, or like people going into people's places of business and causing a ruckus or doing whatever they were doing. Like these stories that are just like nonsensical, and it all I think that 45 is really has a lot of responsibility behind the uprising of this because of his rhetoric, and it shows, and it's just been really tough, like to just see. But also in the same breath, where I was talking to a couple of friends of mine, where it was real like kitchen table talk, where they were just like, okay, but when it comes to the Asian community, one of my friends was like, they're like second tier, like they've always felt like they're right behind white people.
Yeah.
And so when it came to Black Lives Matter, I mean, we're you know, there's a whole nother conversation to be had about that. And this particular friend of mine was like, I feel for them, but I'm also like folding my arms given one of these moments, because for every Asian hate crime that's going on, how many Black crimes that we can name to infinity and beyond. And I was like, this is actually like, I wasn't processing it in that way, but I also know personally that while I felt bad, I also was just kind of felt numb, maybe.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and I think that's why I didn't post anything like at all yesterday on my social media, because I was very much torn like you, because I live in Seattle, Washington, where like literally like I would probably say there are more Asian people here in Seattle than there are white people.
Probably.
Like they like, and your comment about feeling right next to white people is very much real here. Like that sense of I'm not a POC, I'm not a person of color. Like no, that's y'all over there, you know. And I have literally experienced that and seen it on multiple occasions where I've seen Asian people treat darker skinned folks a completely different way than they treat white and Asian folks. And it's kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I can't at the same time forget all of the Asian people that I know that actually respect me, love me as a Black man, you know, and that love our community as well, that don't act like certain other ones like that. So I find myself being torn, but that's a real last thing that a lot of people aren't talking about. And it's sad because, not sad, but I feel bad because I feel like now isn't the time to have that conversation, if that makes sense. But at some point, I really do feel that conversation needs to be had, because I don't want to be like, I want people to show up as a real ally and truly mean it, not to do this whole performative thing. Because again, in Seattle, you see a lot of that shit. And I want people to come correct and be honest and authentic when they're going to show their support. And I feel like you need to know the history, like we just spoke about, as far as how people see themselves, to truly understand where we need to stand with each other.
Damon, you were about to say something as well.
No, I think too that we all have to consider that every minority group has unique experiences with some level of racism, with some level of white supremacy placed upon them. And I think that from people I know that are Asian or part Asian and are maybe biracial or whatever it may be, that the lack of representation of Asian people, period, in mainstream celebrity or in movies and music, etc. The fact that Asian people are consistently preached to that like doing things that in a white sense are better, even more so than we are, in the sense that if you come to America, you have to assimilate and pick a name that reflects American culture and so on and so forth. So I think that even some of the friction, I would say, that we experience as co-minorities in different struggles are all still a reflection of us experiencing white supremacy or oppression in a way. And I think that the thing that will be more helpful would be for us to learn more about the why as to like what creates that dichotomy and what creates that dissonance between us, because quite frankly, the things that are creating the dissonance are more so things that would unite us if we really knew the history of each other's experiences.
I completely agree.
And it's just crazy to see like what happened this week, how people trying to explain it away, and that obviously there have been all these calls for people to say like, why is it that like, oh, we're calling out Black people to speak? Why is it that like white people aren't dealing with their thing with their own communities? It was interesting. I saw this video of like a white girl on Instagram or something, and she posted a thing. She was just like, we have this epidemic or this repeated instance of white male figures feeling threatened in some way and creating acts of terror in the country. But it's just like, you have the most, then what she said was that you have the most privilege of any race, any gender, any identity. And at the end, she's just like, what else do you want? Yeah. Like that was at the end, she was like, out of all the things, and you say, oh, we're going to take our country back, and they're doing this, and we're doing, like, no matter what has evolved or changed, you still have more power, more inference, more ability to be whomever, however mediocre you want to be and still be successful, more than anyone else. But still, there are acts of terror, there are acts of oppression, there are acts of supremacy placed on people that are working exceptionally hard as immigrants, as people of any of color, as Black people, so on and so forth, as women that are just trying to get a piece of the things that they fucking deserve. So
it's just interesting just kind of hearing you say that. And I'm trying to watch what I'm saying just because I don't want to give any pity to the white male. But it's just like, it just shows you the human condition. We all feel like less than. And it sucks that they feel less than. I don't know why they feel less than, because they have all the power. But they too feel less than. And what they're doing is just literally throwing that to everyone else. Their insecurities, all their bullshit, they're throwing to everyone else. I don't know how they've been dictated to be able to be the one that's on the top tier of not having to deal with the insecurities. But it's just like, it's almost sad in a way that, like, it's just like, you're that insecure that you're going to be like, you know, only way that I could maybe deal with myself is to make everyone else insecure. Every other person, every other race, every other gender. And this is not me trying to get pity, because I know because I feel Jerrell's spirit coming. But it's just like, but it's not trying to get the pity, but it's just like deal with your shit. Deal with it. Like, just finally deal with yourself, because you're making the world suck. And like, then it just honestly shows you how dope every other minority group is, because we're dealing with all the yo bullshit that you're putting on us that we didn't have those insecurities. Now you're making us double take ourselves. And now we're trying to deal with that. Now we're trying to deal with our shit. Then we're doing, everyone else is like, oh yeah, maybe you do suck, Kerel. Maybe you did. No, it's they didn't deal with their shit and they need to. But it's just like, just as a human, it's just like, damn, for centuries, since the beginning of time almost, they haven't been able to deal with their shit. So they decided, oh, I'm going to put all my insecurities on everyone else. And we need to stop that. We need to call it what it is and realize they don't know how to deal with themselves and push them aside. Shit, fuck that. We dope as fuck. Sorry. Go ahead, Jerrell.
You know, I'm not even just gonna go there. At the end of the day, it's just flat out fucking racism, and I'm not giving my energy to white tears. I don't give a fuck about a white person feeling like, oh my God, like I'm afraid that I won't be able to have anymore, bitch, because what you have should be spread among all of us to begin with. Like their whole sense of power is about me. Mm-hmm. And I don't give a fuck that they feel threatened that what they have should be shared among everybody else. Like all the rest of us is asking for is just basic fucking
human shit.
Human, right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And if that bothers them, fuck them, bitch. I don't give a fuck. I give zero fucks if it bothers them. Make all the asses uncomfortable. As far as I'm concerned.
And here's the thing, like, too, like people like that, like I don't hear this narrative and this whole dynamic at all. It's like Atlanta fucking traffic sucks. The drive all the way north of Kennesaw to drive into Atlanta at that time of day, because my husband does it every day. Like, I know exactly where he was at. The drive from up there to in middle of Atlanta at 5 p.m., fuck that. That motherfucker, lock him up underneath the drill, like give him all the sentences, because Atlanta traffic sucks.
but we see how they do these white dudes that kill people, though, especially like this. Like, for instance, the Jacob guy from Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yep.
Like all these fucking white celebrities that were billing his ass out, paying for his attorney fees and shit. Like, and what happened to him?
I'm not ready for that conversation today. I'm not. But to our Asian friends and family and those we don't even know, we're thinking of you. If there's ways we can support you, because we just know the trauma of white supremacy. And a lot of times, sometimes you just need to be left alone. Like, leave me alone today in my feelings. Like, I just can't deal with anything you're bringing to me, because I can't receive it right now. And we understand that. So unfortunately, we understand that. But if there's anything we can do, any words we can provide you, let us know, because we want to provide that to you. And we have your back on that, because it's fucked up. It's fucked up. So.
We talk about Kirk Franklin.
Yeah, we'll talk about real quick, because we're at an hour 40 in. And this is my thing about Kirk Franklin. I stay out of grown families' business. I stay out of grown folks' business. That's what
people.
I do.
Yeah.
I just love the glass building shattering to pieces, and like the whole like churchy kind of like, like, I'm waiting for Yolanda Adams to be outed for like, cussing somebody out at McDonald's.
Leave Yolanda out of this.
Leave Yolanda out of this.
Yolanda out of this.
It's about to happen. It's about to happen.
Open up my arms. Leave Yolanda out of this. See, to me, I done heard church folks cuss somebody out. So I'm like,
right.
How is this a story?
Right. I'm like, that's his grown son. Child, grown folks fight.
I was so confused.
At first, whenever he was cussing his son, I thought it was a child. I was like, why are you talking to this child? He's talking to like
31.
That person's my age. I'm like,
I was so confused. Actually, when I was listening to it, I was like, yes. I was
not cheering
him on. You ain't gonna disrespect me, motherfucker.
I was break your neck. Like, that sounds like what the fuck I know about. Because I was like, what are people going?
And the kid was kind of a punk to record it low key. Like, I mean, literally to record it and put it out there like that.
I mean,
I'm not. My mom and daddy ain't talked to them like that before, though.
My mom and dad don't talk to me like that. So I was
really.
I don't.
And I mean, so when I heard that, I was definitely shocked. But like, I was more shocked that he recorded it and published it. I just feel like even if my like mom or dad had a weak moment and like cursed me out, first of all, I want to know what happened before. But if my mom and my dad got to a point where they cursed me out, like, I'm not really trying to like ruin them on social media. Like, I don't know. I would have to see the full picture, but like, no, my parents don't talk to me like that. But also, I'm not about to like ruin or attempt to like ruin my parents through social media. It just all seems like very crazy. I don't want to be,
especially where their career has supported you and given you everything that you have.
That cell phone you recorded him on.
I totally get that. But I'll say this 100 times. both Rhonda and Harold can get the smoke because they give me the smoke. So that's the conversation that we have.
I have never ever once cursed at my mother or my father, and they have. Well, my mother's cursed me out when I was younger, but she's not a Christian woman, so that's that is what it is. She's gone through her own thing, but in the times that she's done that, it's mostly been like, I was like a teenager or a young kid or whatever, and I was doing shit I shouldn't have been done. So it's like, you motherfucker ain't gonna be doing this, but never like calling me out of like, my name and like we just don't talk like that. And even to this day, like I know people that are in relationships that like when they argue, they drag each other. And like, number one, I'm a Leo. So what you say to me matters. And if ever somebody cursed me out, we ain't got nothing to say to each other ever again in life, period. There was no apologies. There was no nothing. You're gone. You're dead.
Oh, or my auntie.
Dose.
You talking to us? Or you talking to somebody in another room?
But it's just interesting to me that, that people get, especially when you're that close in relationship, like father and son, like it's interesting that regardless of what happens in people's lives, and I get that we'll never know like the fullness of that, and we shouldn't know, but it's just interesting that it's just interesting that you go there.
I'm from Gary, Indiana. That's a norm. That's a norm. I've
like,
seen that conversation in church parking lot. Right. Like, and when that's when you said you from Chicago, I was like, sisters, the area. Like, we just if
so
it's
you said you're from Gary?
Your spirit talk. I'm from Gary, Indiana.
Oh, you definitely cuss people out.
Yeah, absolutely. The spirit stay flowing. Okay, it's always open. Like,
listen, I heard it was from here. He said, "Don't you ever."
Right. I know that's right. So yeah, I was like, I stay out of grown folk business. That sounds like family shit. That you a punk move. That's a punk move. You knew what you was doing when you recorded that and released it.
Yeah.
Like, because you just either didn't have the cuss words to fight back or something. I don't know. So I stay out of it. I was like, that ain't between me, Kirk,
I do feel like people that are in the public eye, or the children of those people, like the people that are in proximity to fame, right? I feel like those relationships are almost the most dangerous, because they will take something that is a private matter, because it'll give them the opportunity to get the fame that they want.
Right.
Even if it means taking down the hand, the voice, the body, the energy, the prayers, and all that shit that got you to be in a position where you are today, to be able to take advantage of all those kinds of things. Like, I do feel like the proximity to celebrity is so enticing that these celebrities, whether it's family conversations, friendship conversations, business conversations, you got to be worried about that Omarosa moment where they're going to be like recording everything, waiting for you to do something that they can then drudge out, and then,
I'm just saying that it made me think of Stump in a whole different reason, like in a whole different way. Like,
he was stomping his neck.
In my mind, I'm like, he should be getting a
about the goodness and the fullness of God.
Let's now mess with you, Buck. Just play that when he's ready to turn it up at the club. Play Stomp.
Oh, he charted off of that. Like, everybody started listening to Stomp after that. But
have there been any remixes of that? Because I want to hear, like,
there was one I posted on the stories today that was hilarious. Oh wait, no, you sent it. You sent it this morning. The one, the one where he was like, and it was like that comedian.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
You know, the internet stay ready. But
I'm mad though. Here's what I'm mad at though, because switching gears just a little bit over to the Grammys with Cardi B.
We about to end this show. We 2 hours in.
I'm just saying. The internet didn't do a solid for me with that. I'm sorry. Okay, fine.
No, what you said the Grammys? What?
No, I'm just mad because the internet always stay ready. That little clip that they were doing with Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion, and they're like climbing all over each other on the bed and blah blah blah.
Yes.
I was waiting for somebody to take out all the music because they did the one with Cardi B with the that one. I was waiting for I was waiting for the one where they take out all the music and they just replace all that sound with just rubber twisting with each other and then a couple of fart noises, because that's what I was waiting for. That's the remix that I was waiting for. And then
I think Cardi stole all the thunder because she said what did she say? She tweeted out, "Megan flipped me and I almost farted." And I'm like, you know what, Cardi, you win.
That's why I love, because she'll lean into it. Lean into it.
Right.
Like, Cardi, you win, damn it. But surface level,
Beyonce won though. That's who won.
You right on that. You right on that.
We ain't leaving here without acknowledging the
right
queen
on that. You right on that. And Blue Ivy. Thank you.
Okay, love.
And wait, why did okay, I know we need to go ahead. Why didn't Beyonce wear the Burberry silver dress to the actual show and then the leather skirt to the
because they were sitting out there in that daylight. That wasn't a daytime dress.
Yeah.
It was like
I was like, really?
Sitting out there in broad daylight with a face cage on. That's crazy.
You right. You right.
That's a nighttime dress.
Could have been up there for a 28th Grammy given.
Right.
Houston, stand up. Houston, stand up.
Right. I mean, they probably made that dress when originally it was gonna be inside, and she was like, "Child, I ain't wearing that out there, please, people."
She sure was thick though.
Ooh, she was extra thick, and I'm here for it.
Thick, delicious.
She told us, and she lived into a guy never getting a homecoming Beyonce again.
She said these twins came out this body. Woo. But surface level, give us your Instagram, your social, everything, so they can find you. And what days do your podcasts come out? Your episodes, I should say, come out.
Okay, so my Instagram, well, first of all, the Surface Level Podcast Instagram, but then my personal Instagram is Tony_Jerrell, Jerrell, like Jerrell from Minority Report.
Hey.
And our episodes come out on Wednesdays, and so season 3 is coming up very soon, at the top of April. Jordan.
My Instagram is Jordan, JORDANH, for my middle name, which we won't talk about. And then Randall, RANDALL. On Instagram. I'm only on Instagram. Y'all can't have my Twitter.
I know that's right.
It's a free Twitter, okay? No, I'm just kidding.
Are you?
Oh my God. That's for the neck.
Damon.
My name is Damon GE, so DAMON GE. It's my Instagram, which I don't use a lot, but it's there.
Love it. Well, we appreciate you all taking the time to come on our show. I mean, it's late at night that we're recording this community. They were way more than gracious to accommodate our schedules and things like that. So we appreciate that so much. So check out their podcast, check out their, not their Twitter, not the burner Twitter, but check out their Instagrams, find their burner Twitters. I mean, it is what it is. And make sure you subscribe to Minority Report. Find us on Instagram and all the socials as well. And make sure you wash your hands, wash your legs, wash your ass. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.